Hey, so I haven't been live in a while, but I wanted to go live today. How you doing, B-Rad? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, just put up a one. So yeah, I wanted to go live, and I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with the whole OJ thing. Um, and he passed away, and I noticed that with OJ. Back when that situation happened, OJ, I guess he was like guilty before he was proven innocent. But before I get into my convo, I'm just gonna, kick it for a few minutes. It looks like I have just one person in the chat. Oh, now I have five people. Okay, so I was trying to go live on my laptop, and my laptop is just not working for me right now. So I just want to say hey to the people in the chat. Hey, B-Rad. Hope all is well. Good to see you. Hey, Lily. How are you? This is the first time I am seeing you on a stream, but welcome to the stream. Hey, Carl. What's going on? Good to see you as well. Yeah, we have a little powwow. So I just planned this stream out. I'm kind of like just getting back into YouTube. And I did get a request yesterday to talk about how, as mixed people, we're always kind of like that lone wolf and that one single person in the group. So I thought it would be a good topic to talk about. And it kind of coincides with something that happened, which is OJ passing away on the 10th. So that's about 2 days ago. So, hey, Illuminate, it's good to see you. How are you? Nice seeing you on the stream. So, yeah, OJ has passed away, and, there was a little bit of a sadness to me because I feel like that case was a very tragic and disturbing case. And I believe that those children, I mean, that must have been very difficult for them. So my prayers are definitely with the children and family of OJ, especially since he was such a well-known man. But the fact that that is a very well-known story of a tragic uh, relationship that was interracial, and there were biracial children as well as monoracial children. And we know that both the children and that family were severely devastated by that incident back then. I believe it was in the 90s, maybe. And it also kind of like rocked the whole country. So, like, the whole country was basically up in arms. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about how that was probably very difficult for that family, especially the biracial children in that family. And just want to kind of kick it with people, get back into the swing of things. How you doing, Illuminate? It's good to see you. You said they've been through a lot. Yes, they have. Uh, I'm just kind of like, you know, going basic on StreamYard here because my laptop isn't kind of like lining up for me right now. But I did want to, just speak on, like I said, just speak on the OJ situation and talk a little bit about how difficult it is to be the child in a relationship that's tragic like that. So back when it happened, the country was divided, right? So, like, I mean, this is just a brief recollection, based on, what people kind of talk about. But, like in the 60s and 70s, when we had Loving versus Virginia, of course, black and white people were coming together. So give me one moment. back in the 60s and 70s, black and white people were pretty much coming together. And then what happened is, you did have a lot of interracial relationships, back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. I think my mom was born during that generation. I don't want to remember, I can't remember the exact year, if it was before. I think it was before Loving versus Virginia. And it was very controversial in my family for her to be the child of an interracial relationship. Hey, Estrella, how are you, lovely? Good to see you. So my parent was a child of an interracial relationship, and she was pretty much isolated. She was alienated. She, of course, blended in with the Black community, but there were a lot of issues there. There was a lot of, fighting off the bullies. Like a lot of us, we have to fight off the bullies. And, when I thought about the OJ case, I felt like, there's a lot of similarities with many of us who are pretty much between Black and white, or we are mixed, and we have to deal with that type of situation. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me well, though. Can everybody hear me well? And you could put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me well. It's interesting that you say that you think that O.J. Simpson was innocent, because I also was watching it. Oh, good. I'm glad everyone can hear me. I was watching it, and I felt like he was probably innocent. And I just felt like they just weren't giving him the benefit of the doubt, because they were so angry that he was dating I'll say woman of no color because of, the YouTube policies, but they were so angry that he was dating a, European woman too, I'll say. And because he was with her, I felt like they were extra punitive, and they probably messed up the case, because it's, there were some concerns that they had planted evidence. So you said, can you summarize what the trial was about? So sadly, OJ had a first wife, and she was a Black woman, and they had 2 children, and one of the children happened to pass away during that marriage, and they claim that it caused a lot of stress and strain in OJ's relationship with his first wife. So apparently that relationship kind of fell apart. And then he met another woman. This was the European woman. I'm calling her European for obvious reasons. And when he was with her, he had children, but apparently their relationship had a lot of fighting. I don't want to say DV, but I mean, basically it was a DV situation, right? There was a lot of fighting. It got physical. There were threats, maybe even phone calls to law enforcement. And really that is what put him in the position that he was in. That's what swayed the jury and swayed a lot of people to the belief that he was guilty. Okay, the fact that there was some DV in the past. And it's something to think about, right? Because you could be in a situation where you and your woman, you're always arguing. Maybe you push each other around a little bit. Maybe you throw things at each other. But give me one moment, everyone, because I don't want you to hear this. This is my computer. But his first wife was nice looking too, so stop it, B-Rad. But they were in a situation where they were basically doing a lot of fighting. And when you're in a relationship with somebody and there's a lot of fighting going on and you guys start calling the police, you need to think about the fact that if something happens to that person, you will be perceived as guilty, okay? Because that's pretty much what happened to him. So he was pretty much perceived as guilty because he had, so much of a negative history with her, and they were kind of like breaking up, and there was fighting. So, like I said, it's something to think about. And a lot of people didn't think that he was guilty. So, Planet Mulatto, I don't want to call you out, but you said that you believe that he was guilty. I mean, that he was innocent. Why is that? Why do you think he was innocent? For me, I feel like he was not given the benefit of the doubt, because of his history, because of what happened. He wasn't given the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Yeah. So that's the thing too. You have to think about the fact that when you're in an interracial relationship with somebody, there are a lot of people that don't like interracial relationships. So when something happens, of course they're going to be viewed as guilty, and that's what happened. He was viewed as guilty. So it says they planted evidence, and that's why he got off. That's correct. So Mark Furman was the officer, and he planted evidence, and because he did that, that's why OJ got off. And I remember, people always used to have a saying: if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Right? That was a saying back then, where, like, you could have like a something that doesn't fit, and people will say, okay, well, since the glove doesn't fit, you've got to acquit. That was like a famous saying. So that stemmed from his case, where there was a glove that was found, and he was saying that he wasn't the one that did this, because the glove, with, of course, blood on it, um, the glove didn't fit his hand. But I'm just trying to take care of something right now. So since the glove didn't fit his hand, he was able to get off. But yeah, the police were pretty sloppy, and they really had it out for him. So see, this is what's important for me. Like, so you're a child and you have one parent of one race and one parent of another. And because a lot of the cops were of the European persuasion, just like the mom, there was a lot of bias against OJ, and that is very troubling, to see that, like, one of your parents is treated so differently than the other parent. And that's pretty much what happened. Now, I'm not going to get into whether or not he was guilty or innocent. I'm just saying, he was not given the benefit of the doubt. And that impacts the kids, because you just have that imbalanced upbringing. You have an upbringing where, one person, like, is treated like as if they're an angel. So no matter what they do, they're treated like an angel, while the other person is treated poorly. So, yeah, it was a, I don't want to say crazy, but it was a tragic case. And when we think about people that are kind of like living between black and white, I think they're probably one of the best examples of children living in, like, maybe the worst possible dynamic ever, just because, society viewed the father so negatively, and they viewed the mother in a totally different light. And of course, something really sad happened to her, and tragic. And as a result, it's hard to really think about, okay, who's guilty, who's innocent. Everything in this situation was about race. Everything was completely racialized. Reading up on the story, the whole country was divided. They were calling it the case of the century. The O.J. Simpson case was the case of the century. And, it's just something to think about. like when you're the child, when you're the biracial child or the interracial child, that type of trauma and stress, that was super sad. So give me one moment. Let me pause for a moment. But I'm going to read some of the comments. It says that your mom thought he was guilty. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I don't think he was given the benefit of the doubt. And I do think that because of his his ethnicity, he was especially demonized and vilified. Also because he was an athlete, they just felt like he was guilty, and that's really not fair. People deserve to be judged, according to the legal process, and not just you look at somebody, they're a man, they're of African American descent, and boom, they're guilty. Like that's really sad, especially because the kids are between those two groups. But yeah, and I heard about that too. A lot of people were saying that the child may have actually did it, or that another person may have did it. And honestly, I don't know about the child doing it, but I do think another person did it. I think another person probably did it just because of the manner in which it was done. Sad to say, but I feel like it wasn't a blunt force trauma type of situation, or you know something else involving any type of a gun or anything like that. It was obviously involving pretty much doing something very gruesome, and I don't think he did that. But what you're saying too is also interesting, that they took his blood back to the crime scene, and the tow truck drivers said they didn't see the blood that showed up later, and the glove was half the size of his hand. So I agree, definitely this person wasn't given, uh, they weren't given the benefit of the doubt. And that's interesting what you're saying too. Someone says he was given the benefit of the doubt because he was found not guilty. That's quite possible, that he was given the benefit of the doubt. I think that the jury saw that the police were doing way too much to create evidence to prosecute him. So I think that actually worked in his favor. Had they let the chips fall where they may and given him a fair trial, things may have turned out differently. But because they were so busy, like you're saying, playing the racial aspect, they lost. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened back then. No one knows. And yeah, these are eerie and chilling, and unfortunately for the family, very sad. I'm not reading that when you're talking about the model, but I'm not reading that. But yeah, the problem to me is the two kids. I just don't think people had that understanding and compassion for the children in terms of them being, interracial children. I think people just kind of like focused on getting all this revenge from OJ, and they didn't think about how this was going to impact children that were between these two groups. And they didn't have any problem making a whole bunch of negative judgments on this man based on his race. They just continued to play him up to be like this liar and savage and other things. And it's like he still had living children. So yeah, I'm glad you said this. Black people are demonized in the media on criminal cases, while people of European descent are infantilized and seen as children. They're seen as children. They're seen as like emotionally distraught. You know, they're emotionally distraught. That's the excuse. They were having a mental health crisis. That's the excuse. You know, these are some of the excuses you get when you have people of other ethnicities, and a lot of the time we don't really see what they do. You know, people of other ethnic groups, you know, we don't get to see what they're doing. You know, like when you look at the media, when you look at the news every day, what you see every day is people of one particular skin tone being shown in the media every day doing something wrong, and people of the other group never shown doing anything wrong. So it makes it hard because, like, let's say you're between those two groups, how do people see you? But I want to see if I can. I can't open up the panel because of the way that this stream is going. This stream is through StreamYard instead of being able to go through OBS. There was a little laptop issue today earlier, and so I'm not able to open it up to the platforms the way I was going to do. But I will do a stream in the future where I do that. But I'm glad that everybody pretty much came back. Somebody said. So, yeah, if anybody wants to come up and just chit chat, you're welcome to come up. Yeah, and I think that we're definitely seen differently by law enforcement. People who are mixed are seen differently by law enforcement, and so you've got the scoop on this case. So you're saying that pretty much, yeah, there was something going on with the Goldsmans, and that's the sad part. They were also involved somehow with this woman, and this person also suffered a tragic ending because of them being involved or in proximity, you know, during this event. But I really don't know much more about the case. Everything is very sensationalized. I do think it wasn't him. I mean, that's just me. That's my gut instinct. But then again, I'm also, you know, not privy to any of the evidence in the case. And a lot of people I know actually think that he did it. I've had this argument with many people. It's so funny because there have been people who have said, why do you think he's innocent? But I said, I just know for a fact that everybody just looked at the fact that he's like a big athlete and his skin tone, and they just assumed that he would do this type of thing, but they weren't looking at the type of way that he did this. So that changes everything. But I actually put out the link in case anybody wants to get up on the panel. Hey, Alsho, how you doing?
Hello, long time no see, I guess.
Long time no see, Alsho.
Yes.
I see someone else backstage. Can a message be left to the person who's backstage that you can turn your camera off? Like if you just press the key, just turn your camera off.
Yeah, I would recommend that. I would recommend that anyway. I don't do panels for the most part these days because I'm not really on YouTube, but other than my official YouTube channel where I use for promotion and market of my writing work. But beyond that, that's what I would recommend. Don't go on, don't have your camera on unless it's part of your whatever you do on YouTube. Don't have your camera.
You heard the echo, right?
Oh, is there an echo? I didn't know. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just putting a message in the chat to turn off the camera. Putting a message in the cat. But yeah, Like,
That's just my recommendation. Everybody has their own thing.
yeah, I'm trying to get them to turn the camera off. I don't think they can see the comments, you know. But yeah, I want to give them a moment to turn the camera off, and then I will invite you up. Just because YouTube has so many trolls, and that's all they
Yeah, you
do.
can't.
Day and night is just troll. They can't stop trolling. So yeah, I don't want
That's
to put anybody else through that.
that's why I'm not on YouTube for the most part. Like I said, I have an official channel, but I use that to promote and market my writing work. So I just use it for promotional and basically marketing aspects. And you know, I don't want to go into the whole YouTube thing because maybe some people won't like it, but I always kind of try to tell people you got to branch out online. Don't put all your eggs in the YouTube basket.
Oh, most definitely. And YouTube is just a tool. YouTube is just, you know, something that you do for fun or as a hobby. It's nothing where, you know, you
Point.
have
It's a
to.
tool. It's a tool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think this person can hear me. If you can write something in the back chat, don't let me up. If you can write in the back chat for him to turn off his camera. So yeah, I don't want to keep talking about the camera, but what do you think about the case with OJ?
Oh, in terms of the case, I guess because he died this week, right? It's
Yeah.
funny. I didn't follow. I refused when the case was on. It was going in the 90s. I refused to take a look at it on TV or anything like that. It wasn't until years later that I saw sort of elements from the trial. And that's when I realized in my view, if people were to ask me, or, why I think that OJ was found not guilty, what I
Mhm.
found in looking at some of the aspects of the trial was that basically what the defense did was destroy the blood evidence. That was the major thing. Everybody talks about what's his name, Mark Furman and everything, and I can understand that. But the reality was all this talk of evidence. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think the defense had the Innocence Project and Barry Scheck. I don't know if people recall the trial. Barry Scheck was putting the LAPD. I don't know if it's the CSI people, but the people that handle the blood. And I saw that, and basically, what occurred was this. What he was pointing out was that the blood that they found at the site or at the scene, when they examined it, it had what was known as EDTA, which is a preservative. So the point is this: how can blood that was taken from a crime scene, from the slain, have
Anybody hear me?
preservative in it?
Well, I just want to welcome. Hey, Malcolm, welcome up to the panel.
Hello.
Um, yeah.
Can you
And
hear me?
what would you like to add? Yeah, I can hear you, Malcolm. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. It's good to finally get you up on a panel and get to talk to you. So I
Yeah.
actually created this live stream just for you. I have not been live in a really long time,
Oh yeah.
and I do.
Oh,
uh
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, yeah, I wanted to definitely get back and the people who subscribe to my channel and are interested in these topics, I definitely wanted to give them, an opportunity to talk and, join the live stream forums. And, maybe we can get back into live streaming on my channel. So, welcome to the panel, Malcolm.
Okay, it's good to be here.
Okay. So what do you think about what happened in this case and about the topic tonight, growing up mixed in a monoracial world?
Well, I wasn't born during the trial. I was born in 1997, so 2 years after
Right.
the trial. So, but I remember hearing about it growing up. My parents told me about it. My mom spoke to me about it, but she didn't really go in depth on what it was about pertaining to. But I know he was acquitted. Yeah, I know he was found not guilty, but I never like watched the trial itself because I'm just not really interested, you know. But I heard a lot about it growing up, so I guess my parents watched it, you know, when back in the day before like I was born. So, but I know there are like yeah racialized aspects of it, and because people probably back then it was a different time. This was probably like a couple of years after the LA riots or something and stuff like that, and racial tensions were high. So I guess like people were really just like looking for any reason to like really just say he's guilty because people really, I mean, we progressed a lot in those times with like interracial couples, but still it's not to where it is today. So I guess people just didn't like seeing them together, so they were really looking for any reason for him to be guilty, you know.
Yeah, they wanted him to be guilty, and from what I remember, I think it was like anybody that was of the Caucasian persuasion, they were saying guilty, and apparently, if you were black, you were going to say not guilty. So
Yeah.
supposedly that was the dynamic, even though there were some people in my family. My family is kind of like mixed a little bit, but they were saying that they thought he was guilty. A couple of people said they thought he was guilty, especially the bougie people. And the other people, yeah, the country folk, we were like, well, and I'm kind of like, I'm a little country. So I was kind of like, no, I don't think he did it. I think they're not, you know, I thought he was innocent. Whenever I would hear it brought up, really, I would say that I thought he was innocent because I read a lot about it, years later, because it was something that it was always talked about. So it was a very famous case, and I remember the daughter very well. A lot of people would say, "Oh, you look just like the daughter," and I don't
Oh,
really
I
look
thought it
like the
was you. I
daughter.
thought that was you on the thumbnail. I was like, is this her? Like, I
Well, that's
did.
what was funny. It kind of resonated with me because a lot of people would say, "Oh, I thought you look so much like that little girl," and I would say that I don't really look like her, a lot, but I just think it resonated with me because I was a child that kind of looked like that, and there weren't a lot of other people that look like that. I'm much more tan than her. She's a very fair-skinned child. I'm much more tan than that. But it just reminded me of back then, you know, um, I kind of felt sorry for her as a little girl, like what would I do if that was my parent and everybody was so angry, at my dad like that? And something like that happened to my mom. So I did definitely kind of feel sorry for her as a little girl. But no, that's not me in the thumbnail. I don't show my picture on YouTube at this point. I actually did in the beginning, but nobody would know that because it was I think when I first came, I had a different account, and then once I switched to this account, I just put like a little picture that was cute. But now that I've been on YouTube for a while, I'm starting to see how people are really, there's just a lot of trolls. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But if for those of you who are in the chat, can you please hit the likes? Let's get the likes up.
Did they
Let's
ever
get
find
Yeah,
the
the,
I was gonna say I never put a if people see what I'm like, they would see the video. They wouldn't see the avatar. No need to put photo in the avatar. So that's why my photo is what? Just profile pic. Yeah.
But wait,
You don't
did they
see
ever
the
find
person.
the killer?
Well, a lot of
But
people think
no.
there are a lot of theories as to who the person who did it might be, and they never really have any real confirmation of who did it. So,
Also, oh, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying they didn't have any confirmation, like they thought it was this person, could have been that person, could have been OJ, could have been this guy, but they never really had a definitive answer as to what really happened to the mom. And I believe the man's name was Ron Goldsman, but he was her friend, I believe, so, or her coworker. So,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I read a lot about it, and I thought it was just a
He
really sad
was,
situation.
if I recall correctly, Goldman was the guy at the restaurant that she was eating. He worked at the restaurant she was eating at, and she had left some glasses or something behind, and
Oh,
he there supposedly to drop them off or give them to her, and that's why we wound up. If I recall you know the narrative or the supposed events that occurred from what I recall. Um, yeah, it was a long time ago. It's funny you mentioned LA and what went on. I actually moved to LA after this went down, after the OJ what is that? The OJ trial decision made it. And now that I think about it, I'm glad I moved after that and not during it or before.
right, right. Yeah, I've been there. I think it must have been very divided, It's funny because you can live in places where there's a lot of division and you don't even know it. But yeah, from the pictures and everything, like it looked like it was really, really divided. And I know how that is because I grew up where there were a lot of different groups, and all of the groups, of course, would have their own little neighborhood. Like, and sometimes if you crossed the wrong street and you were in the wrong neighborhood, they would chase you out, with a bat maybe and call you some names and stuff like that. So it's like, you always stay in your lane, But yeah, it's just really sad what happened with the children. And
It's hello.
Hello.
Yeah, what happened?
Oh, nothing. I just wanted to say something to the future. Is oh wait, she left.
She left. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what happened. She dropped off. I don't know what happened. I guess something happened with her computer. So you can't. I don't know where she is, but
Oh, I just wanted to talk to her about her saying like the cops view mixed race people differently. I just wanted to see her
right.
perspective
I'm
on
sure she'll come back. I hope she'll
it.
come back because I don't know what happened. Maybe she had a phone call or something. I don't know.
Yeah, true, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I don't like I said. I moved to LA. Let me see. Yeah, in the mid '90s. It was long. It was after this trial happened and everything. And it's funny that she. Oh, okay,
I feel
great.
like
She's
I
back.
broke down off of the pen.
It's funny you mentioned the kids of OJ because I never really gave any thought to what they, I guess what his son and daughter, what their status was in regards to being biracial people, and that it never crossed my mind. It never crossed my mind. I think it's kind of an interesting thing to consider if you're mixed race or biracial or multiracial or whatever. But I never thought about it.
Wait,
I
the
never
future
thought
is
about
golden. Hello.
it. Yeah, she came back. I don't know. I guess she's muted.
Yeah, I can hear you, Malcolm.
Oh, I just wanted to say, what do you mean by the cops view mixed race people differently? Like, what do you mean by that?
How do I think that they view mixed people differently?
Yeah, you
Um,
said that. You said that.
no, I feel like the cops definitely view mixed people differently than both, you know, Caucasian and black people. You know,
Hmm.
they view all of us differently, to be honest. And it could also depend on your location. Like you could be like African, let's say, or you could be Black American, and they could view you different. But yeah, I felt like the cops definitely view us differently. But I think I was really referencing OJ versus his wife. You know,
Hmm. Oh,
um, that's the dynamic I was really trying to get into. That they view OJ like, oh, this guy's definitely guilty. He's a big brute. And that means he's guilty. When he was with one of our little angels, like
yeah.
they didn't give him the benefit of the doubt at all. They just vilified him, and some people in the black community were on his side, and then others actually were ready to throw him under the bus because they felt like he was a traitor, okay, to the black community by being with a woman of another race. So there were a lot of dynamics that could be explored in this case, because I think just being a child in that family, like I said, my heart went out to the little girl, because I was like, and the little boy too, because I was like, I know this must be so hard for the little children, as well as the first set of children with his first wife, because he had a daughter that was pretty much like on his side the whole case. And I know that must have been really hard for her too, to see him going through that, because she, of course, he left that family, um, and moved in with another, set of people, right? His new wife and kids. And that daughter was still there, supporting him every step of the way. So yeah, I kind of thought about this case a lot when I was younger, especially the fact that I was one of the few people that didn't think he was really guilty, because I was like, it just doesn't sound like he did anything. It sounds like they're just blaming him because he was with a person of another race. And that definitely happens. So, but I want to welcome Carl up. How you doing, Carl? Long time no see.
Hey, how you
What's
doing?
good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's
Oh,
good?
good, good. Yeah, good to see you. How you doing, Al Show and Malcolm? How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
That's
I'm
good.
fine,
That's
thank you.
good, good.
Yeah, so what do you think about these topics?
Your main topic, I can kind of see. I know how that ties into it as far as that case is concerned. I don't know the weird thing about that future. For some reason, before he passed away a couple days ago, I was actually watching a lot of stuff on YouTube about his case for some reason. Next thing I look up and they say he passed away. So that was weird. Number one, like days before
Wow.
he passed away, because he never. I don't think he like publicly said he had cancer. Um, till about maybe 2 months ago, and he had an interview where he's saying he wasn't in the hospice and he was sitting up in a chair and talking. And I get he kind of looked like he was, kind of like not like he used to be, but physically, but he still, was talking, and cognizant of what he was saying or whatever. And I thought he was, okay, but I guess, life says other things. But that case all around is it's weird, because it's very, very, very multi-layered, like so multi-layered. I don't think that will ever be solved. And it not only, it wasn't just a racial aspect, it was a celebrity aspect. It was about what wealth can do for you in this country, status, and what and the criminal justice system as far as that aspect. It was, man, it was the birth, like people have been saying, it was the birth of like 24-hour news cycles and court TVs, and because before that you really didn't have that. basically everybody from that case turned into an overnight celebrity and birthed other celebrities like the Kardashians and other people. I mean, that trial, I'm not gonna say things are fixed based on situations, but there were just so many angles and weird tie-ins and connections. It's like, I'm gonna say it's planned, but it was something different. It was definitely different for its time towards the end of the century, in my opinion. When I look at every aspect, every factor of it, So, but yeah, I was, like I said, I was just thinking about the kids. As far as his youngest kids, I think their name's Sydney and Justin. Like, you don't see them on like public appearances. They don't talk about. They don't even just. I don't know. Now, I can understand why, but um, you know, they were raised, I guess, by Nicole's sister and the grandparents.
Right.
And yeah, I guess growing up, like you say, growing up mixed in a monoracial world with that kind of overtone, uh, to look at the world, uh, depends on how the rest of the family raised them. So, and who knows, they're very, very private. So yeah, I can imagine that was pretty rough, and they're probably very um, they're probably split on a lot of things, most likely, I would imagine. Maybe not, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, in this case, it's hard to say because I don't think they've been public at all. I don't know that they've said anything to my knowledge. I don't follow any aspect of this case or trial. And again, I didn't see aspects of it until much later on over the years because I didn't follow. I refused to have anything to do with it in the 90s. I just thought it was just so much. And I thought it was garbage, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the TV coverage and all that, I didn't like it. So it wasn't until many years later that I actually looked at footage of the case and footage of the trial and looked at it and I went, oh, no wonder it was a not guilty verdict. Now, as for the O.J. Simpson's, his offspring with his second wife, again, the point that you bring up for the title of this video, that would be an interesting perspective, but we don't know ultimately. We don't know what their perspective would be in this case, because it would be a rather unique case because of because it was strewn across the media and it's a huge, well-known affair. But to my knowledge, I don't think they've ever done interviews or discussed it anywhere or anything. I think they've kind of just lived their life. So, and that's why I said I never gave any thought to their perspective as biracial people because I never heard anything from them. And to my mind, I think that's the smartest way to go about it. But unfortunately, we don't know what that perspective would be. It would be an interesting perspective, but we don't know because they didn't talk. They did not talk or say anything that I'm aware of. And I'm not aware of any.
That's what made me kind of come up with the topic too, because I feel like we always have to be like invisible. We can't ever share our opinion. We always have to like stay quiet and be invisible. And I definitely think that the kids went on to be invisible in society where people didn't necessarily know who they were or, they weren't very out there with their identity, talking about their perspectives or opinions, and there's a lot of mixed people like that. There's a lot of mixed people that are just kind of like a speck of salt or pepper, just in like a big kind of, like we're never really part of like big groups of other mixed people. We're always like just that one person here and there,
Well, I would say this, to your point about that. I think they did the right thing. That's the only thing I'll say about them. I think they lived their life however they wanted, and I think for a lot of people who are biracial, I'll just speak as a biracial person. I personally believe in privacy. I don't want to be I mean, I'm kind of the same way. I don't want to be bothered. I'm not into. I've never really believed in. I mean, I don't mind talking about it on YouTube to an extent, or I didn't mind it, when I was in biracial spaces. But for the most part, I also respect people's privacy and the fact they want to live their lives as average people, as, regular people, however that's defined. And I think, and I like that as well. So I agree with that. And so for me, although that perspective would be interesting to hear, I don't think it's necessary. I respect, like I said, mixed race people who just go about their time and do their thing. I did the same thing most of my life. I have to admit, I've done the same thing most of my life. Had my career and worked and did that. So I agree with that.
So the future is
golden. Future. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Malcolm. You had something to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to know how do you think mixed race people, biracial people, MGM can really find a community that fully accepts them and doesn't make them feel isolated, alienated, different. That's always been my problem in life, because I've tried to have black friends and I failed at it time and time again. I've been friends with the Latinos, the white boys, but I really hate, them saying these casually racist things around me and expect me to just, sit back and accept it like I'm some, some COON, I really hate it. It really bothers me.
Right.
Yes.
I feel you on that. I think it's gonna, like, from judging from the looks of it, I just think it's gonna take a long time for people who are mixed to collectivize, and that includes biracial people and NGMs, and probably even some light skins, because a lot of light skins are like the kids of NGMs. But I feel like it's just going to take a long time to collectivize because people are really all over the place. I think mixed people have certain issues that, you know, like coming on social media even and starting a channel and seeing the way that mixed people treat each other. Like, I have to be honest with myself. Like, we have an issue collectivizing, we have an issue collectivizing. Mm-hmm.
Coming together. Yeah. True. That's kind of true. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of true.
Yeah,
Like,
we have some things going on. Mm-hmm.
like, like sometimes I wish they had like an app that would just have spaces for us. That's just what I wish sometimes, or like meetup groups. Something like that.
I think that, like, I feel like in this space, though, I do think people have kind of like worked on it a little bit. I think we worked on it a little bit. I think we are setting the stage. I definitely feel like all these social media spaces, we're setting the stage. In the next 5 or 10 years, I do think there is going to be a mixed collective. But I think that for now, it's just in the early stages. And a lot of people don't agree on things. There's a lot of disagreements. I notice people can't agree on who's mixed. That's one of the big ones. One person says this is what's mixed, and then somebody else want to argue that something else is what's mixed.
Yeah, I wanted to add, it's a very complex, nuanced type of situation. But I will say this: it's in cycles. Like the entire, I guess, mixed perspective, whatever. Like it's all in cycles. Like I was just looking at some things on this feed on this channel here, and yeah, I was looking at like Creoles from the 1800s and 1900s and the history of people, and it's cyclic. It's just gonna, I don't know. Like I said, you come together, you grow apart, things reform. So yeah, I don't know about this generation or what have you, but you know, it's tough to say because like it's not a one group of people with a shared culture. You're talking about different groups of people with different ethnic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds from everywhere. And that's it's hard to get people together on the same page who are in the same group for like hundreds of years, let alone people that are like from all over the place, different perspectives and cult everything. So yeah.
Well, I, I will say this. The point that the other gentleman here raised, that's something I've heard from biracial people in the time that I've been online on biracial groups and a little on YouTube. I've heard that, and it's one of the difficulties that some biracial or mixed race people have is, where do I go? What groups do I fit in? What people should I be around? And I guess for me, I can only speak my perspective. So let me just take my perspective. Yet, in my perspective, I'm not looking for anything from biracial people. So I'm not disappointed with biracial or multiracial or mixed race people. I don't need anything from them. So in I will say in my experience, it's been generally positive because I've been able to talk to and interact with and have conversations with people, and I've been able to learn about their experiences. And I think that's important as a biracial and a multiracial and a mixed race person, is really learning, because there isn't one biracial or mixed race experience. There are many different types. And so when you learn that, you then have it helps you with a kind of map that you can then use as in my view, as a mixed race person. But I think some of that is the fact that I'm not looking for, I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not for some, because I'm not on YouTube for the most part, but I don't really care. But I'm not really looking for a community. I never was. I'm not looking to be part of, the mixed race community or the biracial community or multiracial community. If I'm in it, great. If I'm not, fine. I don't personally need it. But there are mixed race, biracial, multiracial people who quite honestly need a community because they're so isolated and alienated and stigmatized in their lives. They need something. They need to be around people like them, and they need to be around people that they feel will understand or they can at least relate to. So for some people, they really do need it. And that's what I found. They absolutely need it. And
Al, that's one thing I would agree with. A support system of the type, if you need it, some type of support system where you can go to, you can be, you are.
That's precisely right. Support system. System.
That's what I always.
Right
that's what I always saw this space as being, just a pure support system.
Yeah, support.
Take it as you can over a period of time. You're gonna change over time or whatever. And then one big thing, especially as far as like not being in the space for a while, is that it's just one aspect of your life. It's just one aspect of your personality. It's just one aspect, and it shouldn't be the main focal point of your everyday. Just
absolutely, positively correct.
It's just one aspect.
I'm glad you said that, because that's been my view at the time.
No.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that is what I have felt ever since I got on mixed race groups on Facebook and what I felt on YouTube. It's been fine, but I've always this is just one aspect.
Yes,
that's it.
You go into that deeper, you'll find out that yes, it plays a part. It plays a part in how people read you, how people interact with you, how you interact with them, how you're perceived to a certain degree. But the rest is on you and your personality, and your character, what you like, and everything else you build about yourself. That's one of the biggest things for any person, but even any mixed race person who's looking for those spaces. It's more nuanced than just your background.
So Carl, you're saying we could be in these spaces, but it doesn't mean we're gonna be liked. Basically, is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You're saying we can be in these mixed race spaces, but it doesn't mean we're gonna be liked or have friends.
Correct.
You're saying?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. You're dealing with different human beings with different perspectives, different background, different agendas, different points in their lives, different attitudes. Yeah. So you just look. I mean, if I were you, if I was in your position, I'd be like, I'd just try to like find people for common conversation, support, and then, as far as my personal life, I would just go out and find the things that I like to do and find those spaces of people, whoever they are. I understand that in the real world, like you're gonna be in spaces where the dominant culture will rule eventually. It will kind of take over. And that's just part of everywhere you're at, work, school, whatever. So but yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head. Yes, it's not, no space is a utopia of peace and support and
Mhm.
love. Find those that will, and let everything else fall where it may. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
just my
that's true. That's
I
true.
wanna
I'll
I
give you an
wanna welcome
example.
some people though. I wanna welcome some people up here. Um, I wanna welcome to the chat. I wanna welcome Shar. How you doing, Shar? Thanks for coming out tonight. I also want to give a shout out to Estrella. I don't know if I shouted you out, but if I didn't, how were you doing? Hope all is well with you. A special shout out to Shosha. Welcome to the stream. Illuminate, of course. It was good to see you as well. And I believe even Blasian King came through, my Blasian King, and Magic and AMR. Welcome to the stream.
Hey girl, how you
Hope
doing?
you guys are doing good this evening. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. I think this is a very good topic, and I thank you for hosting the topic. I think it's really good, important to talk about. So I want to say, I jumped up here when y'all talking about OJ, and then Al said, "Oh, I never really thought about like what they're going through, or what their perspective is," and I think that kind of encompasses the mixed race, experience. It's like everybody doesn't really think about our perspective like that. Like there's like a main narrative of like, oh, mixed race people, we don't fit in with the white people, we don't fit in with the black people, like that's like, and then the other main narratives, oh, they got racist white mamas, like that's the two main narratives that is around the discussion around mixed race people, right? So but I do think that there is like a lot of value in these spaces by learning, like, yeah, like I agree with y'all, like we come in these spaces, not everybody's going to get along, everybody's going to have different cultures, different backgrounds, and that's cool, but it's like the main point of coming into these spaces is learning from each other's perspectives and having a voice to share our perspectives, right? Like that's what we should be learning, instead of like, oh, we're all gonna kumbaya, get along. Like I tried that, y'all know I tried that, it didn't work, it don't work. It didn't get you too far. So that's not what it's about, but it's cool. Like me, I feel like these spaces were very healing for me. I got a lot out of it. I don't really be in a space like that no more, but I do feel like there's a lot of value in it because I felt like it healed a part of me. It made me feel like, my voice matters, what I'm going through matters, my unique perspective, everything matters. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to let nobody take away my voice and, make it feel like, oh, I can't relate to nobody, so who cares? I'm not going to speak on what I feel. Nah, I got every right and every right to speak on how I feel and what I'm going through as anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So like just empowering our voices and having that space to speak our truth is what's healing for me. You know what I'm saying? Instead of always being silenced and there's so much cyberbullying, everybody coming in and saying, no, you can't say that. No, because it's going against like main narratives of biracial people. Not everybody got a racist white mama. Not everybody feel like they don't fit in nowhere. Like there's so much more to the mixed race experience other than just trauma. And you know what I'm saying? Like there's more to it. Like,
Definitely.
so yeah, that's a part of it. Everybody got the trauma in every community, but it's like that's the only thing people see. Like we see comments, people talking about, oh, this is why mixed race people shouldn't exist because they're just gonna, suffer.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, but it's like, nah, it ain't all bad. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because it's like there's so much contradiction though. It's like, oh, we're suffering, but we're privileged at the same time. It's just so much contradiction. So it's like it's
right.
for us to have a voice to make sure, hey, we gotta, we can't let other people speak for us. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what I think is the main thing. It's not about everybody coming together, get along. It's cool. Like I have you And like y'all are my road dogs. Like I found some people that I really do vibe with and I'm cool with. You're not gonna get along with everybody, but I found a couple people that I'm like really cool with and I really like, and that's enough for me. You don't have to have a big old circle. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's good for me. But my whole point is, just having that a couple people in your life that you could actually talk to about these things is good. You just need one or two. Like you don't need a big old. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
You just need one.
Good
You
point.
just need
Yeah.
one friend. That's right.
Just one. Just if you can find one out of the barrel, you know what I'm saying? 61. And I think that's cool. That's good enough.
One is good. Yes, I know what you
One or
mean.
two. You know what I mean?
Right. That's all you need, really. And then everything could go from there. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's good. I feel like this is an all-star panel, to be honest. We got Al up
Period.
here. We got AMR, we got Carl, we got Magic. This is a nice panel. And welcome,
Period.
Malcolm. You're new, but welcome to the panel. We got some nice people that came through tonight. I'm happy about this. I haven't been
Yeah.
live in a long time because it does get you after a while, the fact that different mixed people don't get along for different reasons. And if you're one of those people that really wants everything to work and you have like a big heart, that affects you. You know what I mean? Like seeing people not get along all the time, people fighting all the time,
Mm-hmm.
that does affect you because you try to, like, naturally, like a lot of people, I've seen so many people come in and say, I want everybody to get along. I'm gonna try to get along with everybody, or I
Girl.
want everybody to come together. Didn't you
Yes,
come in
that
like
was
that? That's
me
how
at
I
one
came in.
point. I was so me. I was like, we're all gonna get along. Yeah, it didn't work out too good, but it's cool.
No, I'm like,
No,
oh no, we do not all get along, but it's
no,
okay. It
ma'am.
is okay. Everybody is not for everybody.
That's
That's what
cool.
my mother
Yeah.
used to say.
I
Yes.
learned that too in these spaces. I was giving everybody a chance, and then I'm like, oh no, I can't fuck with you. I can't fuck with you. I mean, I can't mess with you. I can't mess with you. You, no. But then I found people I like you.
The list just be getting long. The list be getting long in these spaces. You be like, Dad, you taking two? Oh my God. I was like, how many people? But you know what I say to
That was
myself? I
disheartening though. Yeah, it is disheartening when you look at the long list of people. It's like nah, but you look at the short list of people that's like, okay, you cool with me, I'm cool with you. You cool with me, I'm cool with you, and it's cool. That's all
but
you need
the
though.
magic line for tonight is you only need one. You just gotta have one person.
Yeah,
You need
just
one ride or die, and you're good,
I'm
right?
good.
So,
Yeah, like one person you can vibe with. Y'all ain't gonna be on no BS. No, y'all can be mature about things, not sit here and be petty and be on the, you don't need that in your life. There's already enough problems. You don't need random internet BS. We got bills to pay. We got kids to feed. Like we got stuff going on in life. Like you don't want to come on the internet and be stressed out about folks on the internet. Like that's the last
I told somebody before I get stressed out, I would just delete the app. Like, just
Okay,
take the app and delete it. Like,
okay. I already got real shit to be stressed about. I ain't got time to be stressing about nothing on here.
you're arguing with people, going back and forth, back and forth. I said, you know what?
Okay.
I'm not gonna, you say something to people and they hear the wrong thing or they hear what they want to hear or do what,
Or
and
they
it's like,
go off and
yeah,
then
they
make 10
just go
videos
off.
about it.
65 community tabs, and it's like, that is not what I meant or
It's
said.
goofy. It's so goofy, man.
But you
I
gotta
can't
let
forget
it.
it.
You say to them, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna figure out that that's not how you meant it, or that's not what you said, and they're gonna come around. It might not be today. It may not be today, but eventually they'll figure out what it is that was said or how things were meant. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like we gotta. I feel like we gotta work on that. Because you know what it is too, like when you think about it, see, we were having a good conversation the last time. The last time we were talking about how when we meet each other in real life, we don't even
Yeah.
come together, right?
That
We
was a
don't even
good one,
come
yeah.
together. We kind of like keep
Or
each other at arm's
standoffish,
length.
like,
Right. I
yeah,
don't want to be
awkward.
colorist. I don't want to be colorist and link up with them.
Right.
But how do we even treat each other when we're together?
Mm-hmm.
Competitiveness.
The token
You
light
know?
skin. You want to be the token light skin, right? Like that's
Right.
the
The
token
it
biracial in
girl,
the group. You
the it
yeah.
boy and the it girl. Yeah, we gotta like I feel like we gotta get over that, you know. Something I learned in school, cooperation
Yeah.
versus competition. And in these spaces I think that's everything. And it's funny because some people have mastered, you know, getting along and being cooperative with each other. But I feel like broadly, when you're talking about black and white specifically, I don't see it. I see collectivizing with just any kind of collectivizing with anybody under any name, but I don't see broadly black and white collectivizing and saying, okay, let's cooperate with each other. Sometimes I see us coming together, but it's like we got to do it more. And I haven't been holding as many streams. I'm hoping that this is going to be a new cycle. We had a solar eclipse, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had a beautiful solar eclipse, and that means this is a new cycle. So I'm hoping in this new cycle, we start coming together more. You know, I did make a couple of wishes on the eclipse. I hope that's not being too superstitious, but yeah, we got to start coming together. You know, I want to see us coming together, and I want to see people treating each other better instead of treating each other worse. People want to outdo each other. They want to outdo each other when it comes to treating each other bad. They were like, let me show you how bad I can treat somebody. It's like, no, how good can you treat somebody? You see what I'm saying? Like that's
Right.
what make the real difference. Like we're not changing anything by being destructive and treating each other poorly and being competitive. You know, when people are cooperative, that's when you change something. But yeah, I'm gonna stop being preachy. I'm gonna stop lecturing. And if
Ooh,
anybody wants to add anything, I'm
let
gonna
me add
Can I
something
say
real
let
quick.
something?
you know.
Let me say
Oh
something
yeah.
real quick. Oh, go ahead. Let me say something real quick. I got a theory because you know how like in the black community people always talk about like ancestral trauma. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
nobody thinks about the ancestral trauma from our biracial ancestors, right? So my theory is that from our because I know I got like I had people in my family that were marked as a census as mulatto and things like that back in the day, right? So my theory is that like there's an ancestral fucking trauma. I mean, sorry, I cussed so much. Ancestral trauma there. There's an ancestral trauma there because back in the day it was like the Blue Vein Society, like mixed people. Like after the Civil War, they were trying to get together and start their own communities, but it's like people that stuff gets dismantled. So I think there's like a ancestral trauma where it's like, oh, when we do come together it don't work out, we're treated even worse because we're not with the larger society anymore. We're starting our own thing, and then we get dominated again and again and again and again and get taken over and dismantled again and again. You know what I mean? So I think
Magic, what you just said is what I was kind of discussing earlier. I was looking at some
yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, it's just in a cycle. Like what you just said, they got together, they were trying to gain power. Neither side really wanted it. You're talking about black
Yeah,
and white, and even white in certain
they
places
probably
didn't
ganged up.
want
The
it.
white Indian, they
They,
probably were
they
like,
the
nah.
next thing you know, they are discriminating on them as a group, and
Yep.
then they go back to a black community, and then they get infiltrated there, and then the process repeats and recycles
Yeah, it's the same
again.
cycle
If
over
you
and
really
over
follow
again.
history, that's why history and
Exactly.
context is so important.
So important. Yeah, I see that same pattern happening over and over. People try to create their own communities, their own groups. You know how minority groups are treated. They're infiltrated and then dominated and then taken over, and then it's like, so I think there is like but that would be a good topic too, future, like ancestral, like biracial or mulatto or trauma, because nobody thinks about that perspective either, because only people think about like the black perspective when it's like like the racism they dealt with white people, but imagine the ancestral trauma from the biracial people back in the day, or you know what I mean, like the BS they had to deal with. So I think that's still in our blood, in our
Right, because a lot
Well,
of people don't think about this, but a lot of our ancestors were also mixed race because there were poor, like Irish and other groups that were like indentured servants that did have relationships with, some of the freed slaves or maybe sharecroppers. So there were different types of relationships. People think of it in the most dramatic and traumatic situation. I'm not going to talk about the great aspect, but like there were actual consensual relationships and marriages, and I have like I did a little bit of genealogy, and some of my ancestors were definitely I believe like indentured servants, who linked up with free people of color and Black Indians that were in certain spaces where there were already mixed groups forming. Like Louisiana, of course, had a lot of mixed people. Of course, they had a lot of Black people too. But then as you go further out, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, you start going up into like Missouri, Kansas, Indiana, Ohio. You also had a lot of mixed groups kind of forming there too, because there were a lot of people of different cultures, really, from Europe that were poorer, that were mixing with free people of color or sharecroppers, because people who, of course, are slaves are not going to be able to have access to other free people. So these were free people of color. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out because people always try to say, "Oh, well, the reason that you're light skinned is because of what happened to your ancestors." But like, no,
Yeah,
that's not why my
yeah.
family is mixed, so that's not why they're light skinned. I mean, maybe back in the 1600s, but you're talking about 100, 200 years ago. No, they were people who were in an interracial relationship.
Wait, can I say something real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so I know you brought this up before. The future is golden about Meghan Markle. I just want to say something. So, I remember reading that she grew up in the Black community, Meghan Markle, and I grew up in the Black community, and she ended up going to these exclusively white private schools. So sometimes I really do like ask myself like how was she so accepted by these white people? Did they not know she was half Black, or was she like purposely passing? But like you can like literally tell she looks like a light skinned woman. I'm like thinking like were they did they know she was Black and they were just overlooking it because she was a pretty girl, or like I just don't. Sometimes I really ask myself this, you know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when I look at Meghan Markle, she looks mixed to me. I don't know why people are trying to say that she's passing or white presenting. I mean, but I feel like let's say I'm kind of a little bit more towards tan, but of course, if you blow your hair out and it's winter time, you are going to get wisecracks that you look Caucasian,
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
what?
and I
yeah,
feel like
I
it's
think
just wisecracks.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think she did what most mixed people do. They try to adapt into their environment. You know what I mean? That's probably what she did. She did everything she can to fit into those spaces, and you know what I'm saying? So, like, that's what we do. Like, if we grow up in a Black environment, we adapt to that environment. We grow up in a white environment, we adapt to that environment. So that's kind of what we have to do. You know what I mean? So I think that's probably what happened. And then she got, familiar and used to that culture, and that's what she became familiar with. So,
I
yeah.
think that highlights probably when you talk about what was brought up earlier. Why is it that some biracial and some, I guess, was it black, white, biracial? Why there's an issue with sort of congealing together or getting together as a group or as a community or something like that. One component may be cultural. So what I see that matters is where people grew up, the environment they were in, the people they're around, and the mindsets they developed as a part of that. And so that plays a factor. Um, so it's no real surprise to me that you have people that really have there's a variation with biracial people or that kind of biracial person because there are I'll just say I call them wannabes, but there are biracial people that are very kind of fixated on maintaining a monoracial Black identity, probably because of where they grew up or because they're infatuated with that culture or those cultural aspects. And so that's not so much just what they know, but what they like. And they don't, the idea of being biracial, they don't know it because they don't have any gauge or any context or any environment or community. Well, that's the obvious, but they don't have anything that would connect them to it, even though they're biracial. So for them, being biracial doesn't mean anything, because what is a biracial? I've actually heard biracial people say, "Yeah, but what does that mean? What is biracial culture, or what is biracial this, that, and the other thing?" And it's interesting coming from people like that. And what that says to me is they have it's a cultural orientation, not
Look,
just
I
an
think
ethnic or racial one.
there's so much pushback against us forming our own group because at the bottom line, race implies competition. Like races compete with each other for resources, for dominance, for money, for power, for having more for their own group. Like these group tribalistic. That's how humans are. Humans are just naturally tribalistic, okay? So they don't want to have another race to compete with. Like we're unwanted race. Like I don't want to create a whole nother race that we got to sit here and compete with for resources, for whatever, you know what I mean? For jobs, for opportunities. Like they don't want that. They want to make sure that, we're lumped in with, with the Black community and that we're all, utilizing our resources.
Well, I think historically that's correct in regards to this country and what was done to biracial people, Black, white, biracial people specifically. That's the case. It was a case of denial of opportunities and advancement by one drop rule, by Plessy v. Ferguson, by the 1924 Racial Integrity Act, by all of those things.
Yeah, and then the white community, white people have been going around the whole country colonizing and creating mixed race forever, right? Even in Australia, like they purposely like breeded out the Aboriginals, but they called them an unwanted race. They want to make sure they don't like get together. Like this has been happening all over the world, that all these mixed people coming into play because other foreign people are coming in and creating all these mixed race children, and it's like, okay, we got to make sure they breed back into whiteness because I don't want to. It's an unwanted race. They don't want to have a whole other race to have to deal with because that's different from them. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody wants their image to be dominant and not have to deal with a whole other set of people that they got to compete with, and they don't really view them as themselves, and they're not gonna, you know what I mean? So it's
in the European context, what I find is historically there have been divisions. So in a country like Haiti, which is going through a lot of turmoil right now, mixed race people were seen differently by their French family or ancestors or whatever, because they were the ones that were kind of given the property, they were given the education, they were given the resources.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true.
In the US, that's not the case. What resources and property and other aspects were biracial people given in the 19th century? If they got any of those, it was probably under the table. Maybe they had some relative that maybe funded their way to some college under the table privately. So it's a big difference. Like the Spanish and French view seems to be very different from the British American view, Anglo-American view.
But that goes to their different regions. So they were like isolated, so they created their own culture because they had different regions versus like us in America, we're all over the place. We don't like, they did have their own region in Louisiana, right? But we're all basically all over the place, all over the country.
Mm-hmm. And also, what's interesting is, again, the problem with the U.S. historically has always been, as you mentioned before, you mentioned competition, right? So let's take that. When you deny mixed race people their autonomy legally and in all other aspects, you deny them the opportunity to compete with everyone else, right? Effectively, right?
Exactly.
Right. But also, what I would also cite is the fact that mixed race people up until recently have not even really had a real status. Their status was taken away from them in American society. So there's not while there are statistics as to how many biracial people or multiracial people there are in the US, they're at best a data point. They're at best a statistical population. And in other countries, they're not just a data point and a statistical population. They're an actual group that are obviously different. Take Brazil. Recently on their census, it emerged that the largest amount of people in Brazil are the Pardo or brown people. They're
Yeah.
now the biggest population in Brazil, just
Exactly,
edged
yeah.
out Europeans. And, you know, I could never see anything like that happening in the United States. Never, because at least
Maybe
for
in the
all the
future.
problems they have in Brazil, they at least acknowledge there is a mixed race population, much like South Africa does, even with its problematic history, and other countries. Go ahead.
Wait, but there was actually a plan to, you know, erase blackness in Brazil. They tried to like outbreed, you know, like Africans basically. That's why everybody is so mixed to this day in Brazil. The what is it called?
Is it Blanquiamento?
Yeah, Blanquimento. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Breed blackness. So like if nobody really looks black, there's no such thing as black people. So that's basically how it is, you know. That's basically what they tried to do.
Right. I think
Actually, you have a black population in
I think they
Brazil.
got a
It's
lot of
small.
black people though in Brazil. There might be more black people in Brazil, or I would say, you know, African phenotype people in Brazil than there are here in the United States, because they have more. I think they got the most slaves. Like, so when they took Africans from Africa to the Americas, Brazil got the most people. You know, like we actually have like one of the smallest numbers. Some of the other countries have way more black people, but I think I know what you're talking about though, where they try to erase them all together by continually mixing and mixing and mixing, so that now instead of having like a black or African category, now they have a Pardo category where everybody is basically mixed, you know, and nobody is black. But yeah,
But
it's
they
sad
do
how
have a black.
they did that in
They
that
do have a
Have you
country.
black
guys seen
category
that
in
they're
Brazil.
changing the census on the U.S. government? Like they're adding, you know, it's no longer like Arabian people. They're no longer going to be considered white. Like they're getting their own category. You know what I mean? Like they're changing their like our whole concept of race is it's all made up. It's ever evolving. Just like we were considered a race at one point, and they took that away. Now we're not. It's like a social. It's ever evolving. It's ever changing. So it's like we just got to keep updating our view of race. I think instead of looking at it, because most people think of race as like, oh, this is my group and I have to compete with your group. It's like, no, this is just, you know, my family, you have your family, and it's like, so we don't be viewed as a threat. If we do want to have our own community, our own group, it's not viewed as a threat. It's like, okay, this is just my family, my extended family type of thing. It's not like I'm trying to dominate. I'm going to try to group together so I can dominate your group. Like that's old way of thinking. That's like the colonizer type of thinking or whatever. And it's like we have to kind of just do things differently so we can come together and it's not viewed as like, oh, you're trying to take over, and then people don't want that to happen, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what y'all think.
Right.
Hey, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
can
Amos.
hear
can
What's
hear
you.
going on,
you.
brother?
Hey, yo, Carl, brother, man. What you been? Like I said, man, I miss the hell out of you, dog.
Just living life, like I said, man, taking care of business
Yeah,
and living
man,
life.
most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely.
How about you?
Oh man, hey, shoot, hey, I've been hanging in there,
That's good.
and again, like like everybody else, hell, shoot, hell, I haven't really been necessarily active like that on YouTube like I used to be, but hey, some things came up,
Yeah,
and
I hear you.
yeah. But I still try to, keep memories and still keep, getting the good thoughts, of what's good in this space versus the negative.
Yeah.
Right, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
positive
Most
support,
definitely.
the positive support overall is a good thing. And like Magic said, it's just when just one good person or when you need it. You don't have to be on here forever every day, But from time to time, it's good.
Yeah,
Good
you
to
make
have
one
I,
one.
solid connection can be very powerful. You know what I mean? It's about
Yes.
like finding those connections that are actually beneficial and healthy to you, and not stay away from the connections that are detrimental and they don't bring you nothing positive, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
well, you know, though,
Real life
and
is too
also the
much.
other thing too is, I think somewhat in a way is, I believe it's kind of like sort of designed that way. I just don't know why. That this is what they want. That when I say mean they, you know, the opposition. And one of the things that y'all was touching on earlier, which I wanted to like just immediately pop in and say, you know, it is all, you know, it's always those oppositions that'll be so quick to come in and want to blame. Instead of blame it, it's like instead of looking in the mirror, they want to blame everybody. You know what they see when they don't look in the mirror. You know, it's always somebody else's fault. There's always somebody's ability to, it's like their inability to say to become the victim is not applied to any of us, you know,
Hmm.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And the thing too is, now I don't know if y'all touched on you know, OJ Simpson yet. I'm pretty sure y'all have,
Yeah,
but
she did at the beginning of a broadcast.
oh, okay, all right.
Hmm.
Well, I was, you know what, and you know what, because what I want to say about that is, you know, 70, you know, again, 76 years old, like because again, I just had a, because again, I just had a, you know, another family friend of ours recently who just passed away, and I'm still, you know, trying to grieve, and I'm still sort of grieving, you know, when it comes to that because, you know, he
I'm
was
sorry
like,
to hear that.
Yeah, sorry to hear
nah,
that, Amar.
yeah,
nah,
sorry.
Yeah.
nah, it's all good, thank you. They will be having his services on Sunday,
Hmm.
and you know, and the thing is though, and I know on Discord earlier there was some things said about how people are cheering the fact that this man is no longer here, as if this man did something to them personally. I mean, hell, even Bruce Jenner had the audacity to say "good riddance." I'm
Yeah.
like, well, let me tell this wannabe woman something, because technically you still a man. I don't care what label you put yourself. Here's the thing: because you and other folks are still, you know, again, whatever lasted the 76 years he still had left on this earth, he didn't go up. He didn't go without a fight. Sure, the man wasn't perfect. Sure, you know, he may have not have been a saint in some things, but you know what? Y'all still holding out on the, y'all still bent out of shape over the fact that he was found innocent back in the 90s.
Isn't that
Cause
something though?
yeah,
Isn't it
Yes.
yeah,
something how people have really held on to that, and they really did everything they could to continue to bring this man down. And I'm not saying that it wasn't a heinous act, but I just don't see that type of behavior for other people.
No.
What you were saying about him being a celebrity, being black plus a celebrity, like that had everything to do with it, you know? They just continued to harass and persecute that man that whole time. In a way that was really abnormal, because I don't believe that that happens to everybody. You know, people do things and people know about it and they just ignore them every day. But this man was not ignored. I mean, they were really, you know, doing all kinds of different things to him. I mean, it just was over the top.
oh yeah, but you know
Especially when
though,
they
but
took
he's
his
also not
belongings.
necessarily the only one that did fall victim to that. I mean, we have a long laundry list of people who've been who sort of, you know, went through the same type of scrutiny and backlash that OJ Simpson went through.
But didn't OJ
And
like say something like I think a lot of people didn't like him because I'm not sure about this, but he said, "Oh, I'm not black, I'm OJ," or he like denied his blackness or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
didn't
No,
he
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 say
was
something
denied.
like that?
carrying
That's
on.
He
why
was
somebody.
you gotta, oh man, is my thing muted?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So as far as that context is concerned, So you got to understand that era that he was in, and who he was at that time. So in the what was that, the 60s, in the 70s, into the 70s, he was a running back in the NFL, like superstar or whatever. And he was like the bit, like a lot of people were saying, he was like, before there was a Michael Jordan, there was him, believe it or not, at his as far as his reach in the
That's
public
right.
eye. Like he literally worked for like NBC Sports as a sports broadcaster. Like he was everywhere. He was, like people say, he was jumping over Hertz car. I remember those commercials actually back in the day. So when he said that, he was like doing movies, showing up on TV shows. So he felt his celebrity was who he was versus his race. And
Oh,
he was actually really separated from what you would call anything associated with a black community other than for business.
wow. He
Yeah, so
more so
so
identified with like who he was as an individual versus like,
yeah, his
oh,
status, yeah, like
yeah, okay.
between his sports lore and like his, branching out and acting in like the Naked Gun movies or whatever. Yeah, he was the shit pretty much in his own mind and just other people too. So
But you know it though, and but that's the thing too. Now apply that to the modern world today, and these new modern day celebrities, even if they even took those exact same stances he took, oh, it's immediate cancel culture now.
yeah, it couldn't happen now. This is before social
It
media.
definitely
He
couldn't
could
happen
never
now.
happen
Absolutely.
today, ever,
No.
never.
Hold on, can I say something? People,
Yes.
people,
Yes.
people were saying the same thing with Tiger Woods and Michael Jackson. I remember my dad saying, he was saying, we out here struggling, and Michael Jackson bleaching his skin and like marrying a white woman and having white children and stuff like that. And I know what he meant by we're struggling. He was saying black people are struggling, and you're out here as a celebrity doing all of this, And then with Tiger Woods, it was a thing where he only wanted to claim his Filipino heritage and stuff like that. And like, so I guess like they kind of saw it as that, like, oh, he's a traitor, he's a sellout, he doesn't want to be a part of us. The black
Mhm.
community saw it as that, probably, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Sadly,
with
yeah.
that, with
But Tiger's
Tiger, like,
different. No, Tiger,
yeah,
the Tiger Woods, he claimed both. He always
yeah,
claimed that he was mixed. He never like denied his blackness. He just
yeah.
always claimed to be mixed, and that was
Hi-
enough to be viewed as like, oh no.
His arena, though, I will say, as far as his arena, though, was primarily European. From his dad teaching him how to play golf at a young age to his tournaments as a teenager, he wasn't really in an environment where it was like, it was a lot of people, even mixed people around him too often. So like like Al was saying earlier about just fitting into wherever
Right.
you're at.
It's your
That's
Oh, he's not
environment that
part.
you're
He's not
yes,
from.
part Filipino. He's
yeah.
part Thai.
But for
Oh,
what it was
Right.
worth,
okay.
he did acknowledge his entire ancestry when he was young.
Yeah.
When he first like got into like really popular, he did. I do remember
Which
that.
was kind of unheard of. Like,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
common because, back in the day, it was like one drop rule, one drop rule, one drop rule. You are, but I don't know, when it comes to like ablation, it's different. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, remember I did that interview with Blasian King with the Blasian people, and they're like, we're not indoctrinated with that one drop rule stuff like white and black mixed people are. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's different
Well, it's
for.
solely. Here's the thing about the one drop rule. It's an American construct, and
Very
it's an
much so.
American construct for African
But
Americans.
it really only applies to black and white biracial people, because I've never heard
Right.
a
And
Blasian
not
say,
for other
"Oh, I'm
biracial
1%.
people.
I'm one drop Asian. That means I'm Asian."
That
You know
won't
what I
work
mean?
anywhere else.
That
No.
don't work.
You
No,
go to
it
Japan.
don't make
If
sense
you're
anywhere else.
if you go to Japan and you're like if you're half Caucasian and half Japanese, you go to
Oh,
Japan
Blasian.
and say, I'm Japanese.
Yeah,
No.
then I'm
They'll
one
be like,
drop
no, you're half
Asian.
Yeah,
So
you're
yeah.
that
half
means I'm
Exactly.
Asian.
Yeah. As a
That
matter
don't
of
make
fact,
sense
like
to
hell.
nobody
And you know
nowhere else.
and you know what's funny about that is, now I don't know if anybody watched those old 70s martial arts kung fu flicks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have y'all ever seen the movie called The Street Fighter with Sonny Chiba?
No.
No.
Okay. If you ever get a chance, check that out. Like, yo, that's some
No, I
them fight
haven't.
scenes
I've
is
heard of
brutal.
Street Fighter. I've heard of Street Fighter. I met Sonny Chiba, but I haven't seen Street Fighter.
yeah, but his character was he was playing a Japanese slash Chinese a Japanese Chinese person, but then it's like from certain perspective, people that be like, well, that's still Asian. Yeah, it is, but it's still
But they got
two
beef.
different cultures. But
Yeah,
it's still,
because
yeah,
Right.
they
exactly.
got
It's two
beef.
different cultures with
Bi-ethnic. Yeah.
animosity,
Yeah,
and
because
so
Japan, they went and invaded China and was bombing China, and yeah, they were trying to take over China at one point. So there is like a
yeah,
bad beef
that's the
there. So yeah,
so
back in the day.
because of that, he found himself isolated. He couldn't necessarily fit in with, let's say, another group of Japanese or Chinese folks because of that.
Hmm.
But even though he was fighting the Yakuza, that's like
How
because
would
he
they be
saw
able
his
to? How would they be able to tell? Like, you don't think
well,
that like his appearance, like he'd be able to easily blend in on either side because it's like they look so similar. To me, I don't know. Is that I don't know.
well,
Like,
if you have
How do you
if you have a last name called if
oh,
you have
by
a
his
last
last
name
name, by
Sarugi,
I get
if
it.
you have a
Okay.
last name Sarugi,
Hmm.
you can just immediately tell that, okay, that's
Oh, so it's
Japanese.
not really by
Now,
his appearance. It's more by about
no,
his
no,
family name.
yeah, that's a
Oh,
family
okay, that
name.
makes sense.
Right.
Ah, okay.
Well,
Because
my
like when
my
it comes to
phone's running.
us, we
My
don't look
phone's
like
running
nobody
down, so I
else.
gotta get going. Thanks for having me on.
Bye,
Oh,
Al.
no problem.
Oh, thanks, Al. It was good to see you.
Good
Have
to
a
see
good
you.
night. Thanks for coming on the panel.
But then again, that's what always, kind of like, I'm like, well, it sucks because his character saw his dad get murdered at gunpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and when he saw his dad get murdered like that, he was hearing his voice saying, "Listen, don't trust nobody. You can only rely on yourself, and don't let anybody beat you." And I'm like, damn. I'm like, those words in the sands, in a way, kind of apply to what's going on even in this space.
Yeah, because how much does phenotype matter? Like I think like I always do think culture really does matter more because it's like you could what Blaze King said. It's like all these groups in Asia have similar phenotypes, maybe slightly
Yeah.
variations,
But
but it's like since they're all
and
culturally
there's
distinct,
still
there's a beef.
animosity. Yes.
Yeah, so it's like how
Yeah.
important, like if we all so I don't know. It's just interesting that because we have our own. Like that's been a on TikTok. That was a big debate when I was talking on TikTok. It was like, well, biracial doesn't have its own phenotype. That means it can't be a race because race is based off of phenotype, right? You know what I mean? That was the main. I was like, there's a look, but people don't want to
but
admit
you
that
but
because
Magic, let me also throw this in there too. Like I think, again, in a way, it all comes down to like the human experiences, which really it should, be, that's how it should be looked at. It's like how humans interact with one
yeah,
another.
I think we should
It
look
should
at each other as human first, and then all that other labeling could come next. We all have our own experiences, different regions, different cultures, different language, different skin colors. Like all that is secondary to like we're all human first. I do have that like perspective. I try to connect with people on like I think that's a very like mixed race thing though. I don't know if that's unique to us, but I think that's what we have to do because we can't connect fully to somebody just based on us fully sharing a culture because we have all different, you know what I mean? Like I can't fully connect to either side because I'm not fully either side. So I have to
Right.
connect on a human level with everybody around me. I can't connect just because, you know what I mean? So it's like I think that's something we master. Like that's something that we have to do because other people they could just be like walk into the room. It's like, oh, you're the same as me. Okay, cool. They're not, you know what I mean? I don't know because I don't know what it's like to be monoracial. Like we don't know their perspectives about things. They could speak on it,
Right.
but we don't have a monoracial experience. We could just guess, just like they could only guess our experience. So, you know what I mean?
Well,
So, but
exactly, and again, and for some of those, they could just it's easy to say it'll be easy for somebody, some random invariable to be like, oh well, shoot, by looking at you, you immediately got it easy. Oh, you immediately
yeah, because
have
I
it
I
difficult. I'm like,
really
do you know? It's like, well, do you know that for sure? Unless we tell it, unless we tell the stories and the experiences ourselves.
yeah
But because you have people, doing the talking for us, which was
They
why I
don't
believe,
know. Like, imagine us
yeah,
speaking on what it's like to be monoracial. Like, we have no like. I've always wondered that. Like growing up, I was like, I wonder what it's like to have like two white parents or two black parents. Like, I don't know what that's like. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But imagine me trying to speak for them and trying to say what it's like to be them.
that would be kind of that would be kind of ridiculous though. That would, but just like you'll have, monoracial folks speaking on MLS biracial or MGM or light skin issues, and it's like, what exactly are you talking about? Like,
Okay, so
give,
oh,
but go
go
ahead,
ahead.
man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like my thing. It's like my thing is, you already, because again, like, because we live in a certain society, especially in the Western world, where things are, it's like two things are always going to be front and center: money and green. Well, yeah, not money, but race, money, yeah, race and
Mm-hmm.
green. Excuse me, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not race, then of course it's going to be money,
Yep.
and even with the even with the race thing, right? Um, hell, even because again, even for me, like, yes, I am who I am. Whether you want to cast me as light skinned, MGM, what have you, then you put a biracial next to me, like person next
Mm-hmm.
to me, which is fine. It's like, hey, well, similar phenotype, right? But
Yeah.
we just relate based off of that. But there may be
But you know what?
issues that
But
I may
look,
go through issues that they may not, or vice versa. But at the end of the day, if I can relate to them on a human level, then
but the issue that stresses me out a lot is that it's not talked about, but the people still use group dynamics to financially empower themselves. Like you see, like there's Mexican-owned restaurants,
Yes,
and they're
they
all
do.
working together to financially. You go to 7-Eleven or any gas station, you got the Indian people, and they only hire their own people most of the time,
Yeah,
and they're
yes.
working together to empower themselves.
Mm.
And that's what white people did for so long. But until like they took it to the extreme and was like, no N words, no Irish. Like they took it way crazy to the extreme, and then they had to chill out with that. But they still do it on the low. Like they still will probably
Hmm.
hire, that still
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They
that's a
just can't be
good
crazy. Yeah.
that's a good point, Magic, and
Hmm.
it
And
man, that
we
is an
don't have that
excellent
option
point.
though,
It's kind of
because
like
there's not. Hmm.
it. I'm sorry, it's like this: selling America is a great multicultural place, but then after the money is made, everybody goes back to their respective corners at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, they still
Uh,
work together, and we
and
don't
it's
have
still,
that
yes,
option.
and a lot of people from other I mean, a lot of people here that you're talking about literally have homeland countries that they're connected to, which is another thing. So we're here in America, like this is our homeland, those who are American. But
Right.
these people, like, they may be from here too, but they still have that homeland connection elsewhere that gives them that extra on top of
They
looking the
got that
same as the
culture, like
culture.
that family.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
got the land too to bridge that together as well. So, like, we don't have those things, and we live every day, whatever you are, multiracial, whatever, biracial, you live every day with just this being everything and watching others operate like that. It's to me, it's in these modern times, it kind of seems weird because you think
It
that
is
most are not
weird.
operating like that, but they
But
still
you
are.
know what? I went to my 7-Eleven one day because one of them was like, "Oh yeah, I'll hire you," but of course not. They just say that, and I was mad. I was like, "Why do y'all only hire your own people? Like, if white people did this, it's racist, but y'all can sit here." I literally said that to them at the gas station. I was like, "It's cool when y'all do it, but it's you know what I mean? Like, why is that
Yeah,
okay that
yeah,
y'all
it's
only
like,
hire your own people, but
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
it's
what I
like,
mean?"
but you know what
I'm
though,
like,
and I I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this now, that sooner or later, right? Sooner or later, it's gonna get to the point where there will be some type of revenge, because their biggest fear is for what they've done to other people can immediately come back on them, and they're not necessarily gonna like it.
they're gonna be
So
Mm.
they're
so
scared
when
to be the minority group because they
yeah,
see
yeah,
how
exactly. So, and
minority
it's
is.
like
yeah.
they, and again, and they're trying their, and again, and it's like, but then again, in a way, where did they learn that behavior from? Because it's not like they learned it themselves.
Right.
So
But I
so
think
again, oh, go ahead.
they learned it because the people who live in like the cold environments, they have to do more to be able
Survive.
to eat and survive and sustain themselves. So that's why some groups might be at a disadvantage when they live in like tropical areas where, you know, food is plentiful and, you know, there's a lot more lush nature around. Like when you live in one of those cold, harsh environments, you develop a different type of thinking. So that was always like that's always been an issue, you know, for us tropical folks versus
Yeah,
people who
cause
naturally come from like Eurasia.
yeah,
Can I say
in the
something?
cold environment,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So Magic Mulata, she brought up phenotype. So I just want to say something. Are you are you guys' look uncommon for your area? Because I remember telling my mom this a couple of weeks ago, like maybe a month ago, like I was just telling her, you know, my whole life people have just like reacted to me like they've never seen somebody like me before, or I'm like this magical unicorn or something. You know, like
Right.
I've seen like women's mouths drop open. I've seen guys' mouth drop open, and I'm not from planet Mars. I'm like I'm just a human being, but like
Yeah.
Wow.
it's
Yeah,
just like so bizarre that I be getting these reactions, and like
Hmm.
a lot of people just be like, oh, maybe you're just attractive. I'm like, no, people just act like they haven't, like I'm just this like alien or something, you know? That's
And
just
you're in
like
America?
yeah, I'm in Miami, Florida, but like
Okay.
I'm mixed
Yeah,
with
I didn't want you to drop your location. I was just saying in general, like in
yeah.
America.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
very weird to hear that in modern times.
yeah,
Like,
I'm mixed with black, Indian, and Spanish. So
mm-hmm,
like I'm half Salvadoran, half black.
mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
just feel
that's not too rare. It's I wouldn't think so.
well,
Uh,
sometimes I think it is in Miami sometimes because
mm,
the Latin look here is like the Arabic look, you know, the big
mm-hmm,
eyes with
mm-hmm,
the long black hair and you know
mm-hmm,
the eyelashes and like the big eyebrows and stuff. So
mm-hmm.
like sometimes I don't know. I'm
like they
like,
like in a way, is it sort of like that mestizo look or non?
yeah, a little bit something
Oh,
like that. I probably got like
okay,
some of that going on, maybe you know,
Mm,
okay,
probably that mixed with black. So I probably got that
mm.
going on. Yeah,
yeah, right. Now, but
Yeah, so you
because
have more of a mulatto phenotype. I know what you mean though, like when you
Mhm.
have like a
Hold on, what did you
mulatto
say you're mixed with? I
phenotype.
couldn't hear y'all. I can't hear y'all.
I'm
Hold on.
mixed with Salvadoran and black.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
black and
okay. You
Salvadorian.
speak Spanish?
No, no, I was adopted.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Oh,
I
okay.
see. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can understand your need for support, a support system, more so now if you adopted. So I can definitely
yeah.
get that part.
No, but my
Wow.
family loves me. My family loves me
That's
dearly.
good. That's good. That's
I've
good.
never seen that mix. That's probably why, like you said.
Black and Salvadorian.
I
Yeah,
never
I
seen
think
that
I
mix.
think I know what you mean though. Like but that's like black, white, and native, right? Like black, white, and indigenous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have heavy indigenous blood. Like I'm
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
almost 30%.
Oh wow,
Wow,
yeah,
that's beautiful.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely think people will stop and stare a lot of the time when you are mixed with different types of ethnicities because they can't figure out what you are.
Yeah.
So
It's like they need a automatic subconscious identifier because that's how we're programmed.
Right. Or like people with unique mixes, like if you're like Asian and Latina or like super unique mixes, they probably have their own experience of like you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like if they don't
yeah,
have like
people
a
staring
large
at them,
representation of people who are
trying to
mixed with
figure
them.
out what they are.
Yeah, so people are like, "Whoa, what is it? I never seen this type of mixture before." Like, you know what I mean? Like people with like
Yeah.
super unique mixes.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that'd be cool to talk about too. Like we don't hear like perspectives from people from like who have super who have unique mixes. Like if you're like you know what I mean? You all know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
I
when they
think
have
oh
a
yeah,
unique
yeah, most
mix, like
definitely, yeah.
um people are used to seeing black and white.
yeah, that's like that's pretty common. That's like okay, that's
And they're used to seeing people who are like Latino but from like certain Latino countries, like, Puerto Rican has one look a lot of the time, and Dominican has like but like when you see somebody from certain areas where you never saw people, like Chile or Peru or
Yeah,
Uruguay, they're kind of
yeah.
like,
How do you
where's that person from? Right? Because you never really see people like certain countries too in Latin America. You never see a lot of people coming from those countries. So those people are automatically
right?
unique because you only see like certain groups in the
Yeah.
USA anyway. You
Especially
know?
in Miami. Yeah, especially in Miami.
Right. How do you
Yeah, I've
feel
seen
about
some
like
unique looking people in Miami. I looked at people too. I was like, where could that person be from? Like they look like they're a mix of, Asian plus black plus white plus indigenous plus. So it's kind of like you don't know what country they could be from because you're not used to seeing people who look like that. And me, like I've seen a lot of people from Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. So of course, it's easier to kind of spot them, but like somebody from like Aruba or certain other countries where they're different, Grenada, Guyana, where they're different types of mixes, you're kind of like more staring at them for a longer time because you've never seen those type of features before. So I definitely know what you mean. There is a probably very unique look that you have, and that does make it more difficult too to connect to people because they will view you as like not a part of their group, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, not a part of their group. And I want to add though that the term mulatto, because sometimes we assume it's only black and white. It was black and white and also black, white, and indigenous, because there
Indigenous.
Yeah.
was also a large black, white, indigenous population at some point. Um, because of course, all these people were free, so they were free to do also whatever they wanted, and that's exactly what they did. But yeah, like, yeah, I wanted to just point that out because you certainly are part of the mulatto group if you are black, white, and indigenous. Um, but yeah,
So you wanted
I
to say
see.
something, Magic Mulatto? You wanted to say something? No,
I
Magic
think
Mulatto.
her mic is off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
her mic.
Magic's
Yeah, her
mic
mic
is
is
on.
off.
Oh, okay. She was trying to ask me something. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, she was
But
in.
yeah, though.
I remember her
But
asking
also
if
the
you
thing
spoke
too.
Spanish. Mhm.
Like when I was in Miami, like the only, when I went there, like the only district where I got put in was where all the Cubans were, because it was my
Yeah.
first time going there. Yeah, going there, especially around 2016. And so I'm asking, it's like, so okay, so if I want some Cuban food, like where would I go? And this dude who was part of the hotel staff where I was staying was circling all these places where he goes, and if you want to try this place out, go here, here, here. And I'm like, all right, then cool. But then and again, and even at that time, right, and especially 2016, um, again, the mixed community conversation was, kind of, I don't want to say it was that much taboo, even though, it was in existence, but not like how it is today.
it's growing a lot. Like
Yeah,
it's growing.
yeah, and that
You
just
can't
goes to
ignore
show you
it.
like how
Yeah.
much progress. It just goes to show you how much progress, that's been made, all these
Right.
years now. And again, Magic, you was also saying, and also maybe Future to an extent, where y'all were talking about, like, I think when people first came to this space, I think a lot of us, including me, was sort of naive to the extent of, we're just all gonna get along, and
Yeah.
Very,
yeah,
very AMR, very,
yeah. Hey, Carl,
Yeah.
you and I are the
very
better.
much
You,
so.
hey,
Yes, sir.
we the veterans in here.
Oh
Very
yeah, for
much so.
sure. For
But
sure. Yep.
And
yeah,
we had, and again, there was so much battles, and probably still some that we still fighting till this day. If it's not one thing that's talked about, then they'll reverse it into something else. Oh, you're anti this, or you're anti this, or if you don't want to go with the status quo. And it's
Well,
like, well,
a lot of
basically,
that AMR is basically the separating the work, the due diligence, the work and support system side versus the entertainment sector. Pretty much.
absolutely.
Those are
And I
two
remember
sectors.
you also
You
made a
have
point that
entertainment
you
and you
gotta.
have work and support. Either one. So
Yeah,
Hey, one of my favorite quotes about you, Carl, was you said you gotta isolate in order to elevate.
yeah, Future told me the same thing that she really liked that. That helped her out too on a certain occasion. So yeah, I'm glad I can
Definitely.
spread the support for my mixed race people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
love
gotta
that
find
quote.
people. You gotta find people on the same page as you. Like I said, some people just want to BS and be about drama and entertainment and they like that's what they're gonna link up with. Like, okay, that's cool, but you gotta find people who are on the same page as you, who actually want to who just want the same things as you, just like somebody to talk to, or somebody chill with, who just or whatever you want. Just find somebody who wants.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You just gotta, yeah, and you gotta be careful too, because people do stuff to kind of like provoke you, and you can't take a bite out of that apple, you gotta like hold back. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
just not jump in on
Hold on, I
everything,
cannot
because
hear
I
you,
definitely think
Future.
a
I'm
lot of
not sure,
people
babe.
like to provoke. Yeah. What's that? No, I think I heard you say something, Magic.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you were saying. I don't know. My stream keep going in and out. But what were you saying, Future?
I was just saying that like it's good to not always react to everything. Um all like it's better to be proactive rather than reactive. Like sometimes people will try to make you react to something, um and you just have to sometimes think about if it's worth it. Sometimes I avoid reacting in the moment because I believe that later on you can't take back something that you've said or done. You can never change something that you've said or done. But if you
Correct.
never did anything, then you don't have anything to worry about. You know what I mean? So like sometimes I operate from that mindset when it comes to dealing with people, because it's very easy to react.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course some people like you have to figure too, this is entertainment, it's nothing personal.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you are a community building type of person, you may not want to entertain those types of behaviors. You may want to have the entertainment be of a different caliber. So yeah, I definitely try to be proactive, and it's not, I'm not perfect, it's a struggle, but you want to be proactive versus reactive. Just every time somebody rings your bell, you react. That's dangerous.
Yes.
you know
wait,
yeah,
hey,
and I've been there. I've been one of those people, like boom, react, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
waste of time. Bad
Life.
bad decision. Yeah.
wait, future. Do you think you can be like, as wise as data opportunities? Do you think you can be too exotic for people? That's sometimes what I wonder. As far as phenotype and looks, like too exotic looking.
um Sure, why not? Yeah, of
You said as
course.
far as dating wise?
Yeah, dating wise, like, because some people
Eh,
be like, I don't want to mess with this person. They just look too out there. Sometimes I
nah,
wonder.
there's somebody for everybody. Somebody gonna love that about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody gonna love your exotic ass. They're gonna be like, I can't get enough of this. I love it. Some people ain't gonna like it. There's gonna be somebody that like it. Okay, somebody.
Good answer, Magic. Good answer. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's somebody for everybody. That's true. Yeah, and you don't never give up. Never give up. So, yep.
Well, guys, this was a good discussion. I gotta go. I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah, well, it was
It
good.
was
Thank you for
fun, man.
coming to the
Yeah.
stream, and I
Nice
hope you
speaking with you.
enjoyed it. I got a little rusty. I haven't been doing streams, but thank you for the idea, and I hope you enjoyed the stream.
Yeah, I did very much. I'll probably come back on at another time.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good.
All
Okay.
right, it was great. I got a great, value and great conversation, mentally stimulated, and I'm inspired. It's inspiring. I love doing streams with you, Future. You do a good job.
Well, thank you, and you as well. It was a pleasure having you on. This was a lot of positive vibes tonight. It was good, having people come up here. I was a little worried. I was like, I'm gonna have like 3 people. I haven't been live in ages, but
It's
it was a
good.
nice, it's a
Yeah,
nice
a lot of
turnout. It was
positive.
a cozy group. It was fun, and it was good to see some people coming back, and visiting the channel again. And I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Future.
Yeah.
Good night. Good
Certainly
night,
did.
Carl. Good night,
Certainly
everybody.
did. Oh yes. All
Good
right. Well, y'all have a good
night.
night.
Yeah. Have a good evening.
All right.
Okay, everyone, and thank everybody for coming to the stream. I appreciate it. It was a nice chat. Again, my prayers out to the children of O.J. Simpson and the family. We know what those children had to deal with as part of the mixed community, and definitely hopes and prayers out to them. We are not invisible. We see you. We know what you are going through, and we hope that you find some healing. So, with that being said, also to the audience, have a great evening and good night, and all the best to everyone. Hope you have a good night. Let me put some hearts up in the chat, and don't forget to like the stream, everybody. Don't forget to like the stream on your way out. Let's see. Some hearts for everyone. Okay, good night.